10.
Hey, y'all.
Oh, it's just you? No guess?
Yeah. Oh, that's what you meant by inside speaker?
No. I just wanted to make sure it's just the one mic.
Hey, everyone. It is Wednesday. You are listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key. Thank you for tuning in. We are Selling Sacramento. And as always, Selling Sacramento is brought to you every Wednesday at 1 p.m. by Matthews and Company Realty Group, where I, Agent Key, am the broker and owner. And if you'd like to have a conversation with me about real estate, if you are thinking of buying, thinking of selling, go to my website at agentkee.com, agentkey.com. Schedule your free consultation with me. Reach out to me either via email, phone number. All of my contact information is right there on the website, readily available to you. I want to start today's show by giving you some encouragement. This morning, I had the opportunity and honor to attend the open house for the California Black Chamber of Commerce's training session that they are having for small businesses. And I want to give you this information too, because if you are a small business owner, this is an awesome opportunity. I was so excited to be in the room with some heavy hitters right here in Sacramento that are doing some major things for the community, and it translates to how they do business. And so I was honored that the chamber invited me to participate, because what we'll be doing is actually providing class sessions, teaching you the strategies and techniques, helping you set up systems and processes as a business owner to be successful in the areas of such as creating your business plan, marketing and branding, social media, government contracts, the entire nine, your website, your presence, your elevator pitch, how to get extra money from grants and organizations by teaching you where the money is, all of that. So it was an awesome opportunity to be a part of that this morning. And I want to share with you something that I shared with the group as I was introducing the class that I'll be teaching, which is on branding and marketing and social media. So this morning when I woke up, I think I've shared with you guys a couple of times that I have a routine in the morning. I usually am up by 4, and that's either automatic or by alarm. My alarm is set for me to get up at 4. But for the first 30 minutes of the day, I just lay in my bed and I contemplate, meditate on my day. I'm looking at my calendar, thinking about the things I have to do and how I'm going to accomplish them, and opening my mind up for new opportunities. I'm sharing this with you because we have to change our mindset. And this is where it starts. If you wake up in the morning and you immediately lay there and start thinking about your problems of yesterday, you have already determined the day that you're going to have, because you put those feelings, the same feelings that you had about whatever happened the day before, that's now pulling you into your day, right? So you can't have a new season if you insist on holding on to your current one. Your current destination has been brought about by your current thoughts, behaviors, and ways. So how you think, how you behave, and what you do has determined where you are right now. So I challenge you to never marry your thoughts. Always be open to change. You know, sometimes we have that attitude, that's just how I am. Stop saying that's just how I am. You are not a tree. You can move. You can change. Always be willing to be open to having better thoughts, better behaviors, and better ways. 1 Corinthians out of the Bible, 1 Corinthians 13 and 11 says, when I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child, and I reasoned like a child. But when I became a man or a woman, i.e., when I grew up, I did away with childish things. So if you're stubborn with your thoughts, if you're stubborn with your behaviors, and if you're stubborn with your ways, you actually delay your next season. And you remain doing the same things you've always done, getting the same things you've always got. And so it starts with your mind. So I challenge you, if you are a business owner and you're ready to go to the next level, but you just want to open yourself up to the resources and the training and the people, just the energy that was in the room this morning. Can I tell y'all the energy that was in the room? They had a couple of business owners in there testifying to them using the resources and services that the California Black Chamber is providing for small businesses. And wow, I'm just so excited because the opportunities to grow, the opportunities to network, and the opportunity to position your business as a business of excellence, it is there. So go to the California Black Chamber of Commerce website, calbcc.org, and find it on their homepage. And I'm looking it up for you right now to tell you what it's called: Micro Business Assistance. That's what it's called. And I believe right before this show came on, there was a commercial with Leon on it talking about it. But you can apply now. And to apply, it's free. That's the other part. It's free. Let me come out of the rafters. Apply. It is free. The chamber is positioned. Tons of companies and industries and organizations are throwing money at, want to partner with, are partnering with, and the chamber's receiving grants from all of these companies to help you. But there is an amount of work that you are required to do. The first step is to go online and apply. calbcc.org. When you get to the website, it says, "Welcome to the California Black Chamber of Commerce." If you're watching online, I'm showing you what it says. You scroll. Can y'all see that? Oh, there's a glare, but you could see it for the most part. If you scroll down, whoops, there I go with all these windows on these smartphones. If you scroll down, it'll take you to an area where there are information, events, and things that they're having, and they're flashing through. But then you'll see the green one. It says Micro Business Assistance. If you click on that, it takes you directly to an apply now. So I used the first few minutes of the show to tell you that because it's very important. It's imperative. There is still this window of opportunity. This show is not just about, it's called Selling Sacramento, but it's not about real estate exclusively. It's not about how to get you to buy a home. And it kind of is, because the how to also requires you being able to. And you are not able to buy a home if you don't have the financing available. And if you are a business owner, you want your business to make money, not only just for your business to be successful, but so that you can take that money and grow your wealth, buy a home, do things for other people. And so these are the types of events that we want to connect you with, make sure you are connected with, so that you can actually make that happen. So I wanted to share that information. And so today's show, we are talking about California market predictions and news. So I'm going to jump right into that, because the mortgage rates have been the biggest concern for most people. And I want to bring this news to you today straight from the headlines. I'm bringing you topics today straight from the real estate headlines, and we are going to dissect this information. So we're going to talk about mortgage rates, how they slipped after the Fed hike, but what's next. So the Feds increased the interest rate. I don't know how many people noticed, but last week mortgage rates went down a little, right? So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about how much equity U.S. homeowners have lost since May. Lost. Yes, I did say lost. We're also going to talk about how Redfin, some of you know and have heard of Redfin, how Redfin is cutting 13%, or they actually have cut 13% of their staff, and they have shut down their home flipping business. This is all important information to talk about, because oftentimes these types of companies are in your emails, or their commercials are popping up on your feed, or they're calling you or sending you something in the mail, giving you an offer on your home if you're a homeowner. And people often take those offers, not understanding what the implications are, or they reach out to real estate professionals like myself and say, hey, I got this information from them. What should I do with it? So we're going to talk about that too. And if we get to it, we're going to talk about a New York Times article that I really like. So I'm going to try my best to get to it. The title of the article is called "The Housing Market is Worse Than You Think." And I love the title. It is chock full of information, and we are going to dive into that today. So let's first start with mortgage rates. They slip after the hike, but what's next? So this article is actually from the National Association of Realtors, and this article was written on November 3rd. I'm going to share with you the information in the article, then we're going to dissect it on a state and local level, because the National Association of Realtors covers information that is nationwide, and then they highlight certain market areas. So economists eye two possible scenarios. Rates could rise to 8% or higher by the end of the year, or they could stabilize. Know what to expect. Mortgage rates, when this article was written, had dipped slightly below. Now remember, there's a difference between mortgage rates and the Fed interest rate. So I'll try to make sure I make a distinction between the two when I'm talking. When interest rates go up, mortgage rates may or may not follow. So as interest rates have been going up, what this article is saying is that mortgage rates actually dipped slightly below 7%, even after the Feds aggressively raised the rate. Even with the Federal Reserve raising its short-term Fed funds rate by another large amount, longer-term interest rates look to move on only slightly. And that was a statement by Lawrence Yun, who is the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors. The mortgage market has already priced in the latest Fed move. So the mortgage market makes the mortgage market fixes itself almost like schedules rate movements, either in anticipation of or based on what the Fed interest rate has already done. So as the federal interest rate went up, mortgage rates decreased. During that week, the Fed approved its fourth consecutive rate hike of 0.75 of a percentage point to help bring down 40-year high inflation. The central bank's lending rate now falls within the target range of 3.75% to 4%, its highest since January, wait for it, 2008. The inflation picture has become more and more challenging over the course of this year. And that's what Fed Chairman Jerome Powell said at a news conference that week. He said that means we have to have policy be more restrictive, and that narrows the path to a soft landing. So what happens next? Mortgage rates will start to drift lower once inflation has been constrained, but that could be another year or two. And that's what chief economist Lawrence Yun predicts. And I want to repeat that. The chief economist for the National Association of Realtors is predicting that mortgage rates will start to drift where? Lower. Once inflation has been contained. So that's the difference that's one of the, how do we want to call it? One of the issues, that's not the word I'm looking for, but I just want to get to the point. As Fed rates are increasing, the reason that the Feds are increasing the rate is to help slow down what's happening in the economy. They are implying that we may be entering a recession. And there are some things that have to be present in order for them to say that we are formally in a recession. But if the Feds continue to see certain segments of the economy impacted in a positive way where they do start to slow down, they are not going to continue to increase interest rates. But that may take some time. Why? Because it's all about consumer behavior, and especially in particular, the job market. So even though mortgage rates will start to drift lower over the next year or two, the slight dip this week likely will offer little relief to priced out buyers. Unsure buyers navigating an unpredictable landscape keeps demand declining, while other potential buyers remain sidelined from an affordability standpoint. So even though we saw that dip, it doesn't mean that it directly impacted buyers' desire to get out there and purchase homes. Mortgage rates will likely be volatile in the coming weeks. Home buyers expecting mortgage rates to fall significantly will be disappointed. The question is, will rates stabilize or will they push even higher? So here's a summary of that. If inflation remains stubbornly high, the Federal Reserve could continue to aggressively raise rates. Until the scenario of persistently higher inflation, mortgage rates could climb. Under this scenario of persistently higher inflation, mortgage rates could climb to 8% or beyond in late 2022 and in the first part of 2023. 8%. But if October's inflation data, which was released, shows signs of easing, and offers some indication that the Fed's tactics are working, the Fed could pull back on its rate increases. So I did tell you that this article was, no, I didn't say the date. So this was from November 3rd. They did come out, the Feds did come out and say that what the actions that they've been taking have shown some signs of easing. And so there are several economists, and we're going to get into that with this information, that are pretty much predicting that if we keep trending in this area, it is very likely that we will see those rates slowly go down, as Chief Yun predicted, over the next couple of years. So what that translates to, if you're trying to predict as a buyer whether or not this is a good time to buy, you really want to be taking advantage of an opportunity to make offers on properties at an offer amount that you can afford, not at the price that they have listed. Negotiate that thing with your real estate professional to what that price should be pre-pandemic. I've said it over and over again that we are probably going to see pre-pandemic pricing once the dust settles over the next year or so. And pre-pandemic pricing just looks like what's affordable with the interest rate relative to the list price or the purchase price. Buyers have backed out over the past several months because it does not make economic sense, the housing costs plus the interest rate. When rates went down during COVID, prices went up because the cost to buy was cheap. But now that rates have gone up, prices must come down. So if you are a seller, and I've said this before, and you're trying to get those pandemic proceeds, that ship has sailed. And the faster you fix your mind, the faster you make that adjustment, the faster you make that pivot, you will sell your home quicker. The other benefit is the longer it takes you to make that pivot, knowing that prices are going to continue to go down. Now, they're not going to do some desperate drop and, like they did back in 2008, but they are going to drop. So let's say, for example, if your house pre-COVID was selling for around $400,000, and during COVID with the low rates, it was selling for $500,000, you had better list that home somewhere around $450,000 or even lower because at the end of the day, it's going to go back to the 400,000. So if you want to get as much as you can before the prices continue to drop, then you want to sell it at the right price now. So play with that. Talk with your real estate professional. This is the time where real estate professionals have to really know their business. They have to really be good at what it is that they do. Y'all, I did not take my break. I am 6 minutes into not having taken my break. I'm going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation, get into how much equity U.S. homeowners have lost, and talk about how the housing market is worse than you think. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and we'll be right back. Hello there. Hey, y'all. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Yes. Thank you. Ron, if you get my voicemail, I end with this. What do you think about the talk? What are you thinking about today? Ron, that doesn't make any sense to me. Help me understand what you're saying. Or maybe I'll just listen to your voicemail. What do you think about? What do you think? Okay, I'm not even going to try to decipher that. I'm going to wait for you to tell me what that means. And was that you calling me while I was on the air? Ron, you know better. Oh, no, that wasn't you. Okay. That was one of my lender partners who knows. I'm saying on the air. He's going to text back. Oh, yes, sorry. Okay. Glad the ringer was off. So thank you all for tuning in today. If you have any questions, type them in the chat, and I'm happy to answer them and have the discussion or conversation with you while we are right now in between break or even on the air. And again, thank you all for tuning in. So the beginning of the show, I said, was for you.
Yes.
Yes?
I don't have a stubborn attitude, though. I really don't. I am wide open. That's why when we were talking earlier, I say people will often misjudge me because I'm deadpan sometimes when I talk. So they think I have an attitude when I'm talking, but I don't. I'm just direct.
I never said you had an attitude.
I didn't say you. I said people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So no, I'm really
because open. Your statement did not just address my comment, but
okay. Well, tell me you're coming directly, and I'll address it.
Well, I think that you are a vessel for communicating messages, and that you have a wide audience. And so as a result, like myself, we have to be very mindful, not only about what we say, but how we say it. In as much as we'd like to think that I'm just going to be me, that's not always profitable. And so we really have to, when I can almost feel like a chemical change in my body when I've said something that I probably should not have said it that way.
Right.
If that makes sense.
No, it does. But I am actually mindful of what I say when I say. Because there's certain things I can say that I don't sometimes. That's why I was saying to you earlier too. Certain things I don't say because people tend to take them wrong. So I'm very mindful of that.
Hey everyone, we're back. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and we are selling Sacramento. On today's show, we got market predictions, and we left off with talking about mortgage rates and how they slipped, and now we're getting into how much equity U.S. homeowners have lost since May. And I want to just kind of reiterate that it is a great time to buy. Before we went off the air, I said it's a great time to buy. And it's a great time to buy if you've got the right team around you who can help you set up the right strategy to take advantage, because it's really like a reverse purchase opportunity. I don't mean like a reverse mortgage, but the strategy, because based on the data, where we're headed, what the market's doing, what interest rates are doing, where pricing might be in a couple of years, You need a strategy that's basically presenting an offer in front of a seller that's getting them there sooner rather than later. And where is sooner? Sooner is a lower purchase price point. So that house that's listed at 600,000, it's been on the market for 59, 69, 79 days. That is a clue that that home is probably uber overpriced. And especially if you've seen if you go to, your agent has the ability to look at the market history of a property. So you can go and check and see how many times, what was that house originally priced at? How many times has it been reduced? But you really got to have an agent on your team who is trying to do that work for you. If they just put you on a portal and you've got property coming in and they say, let me know when you want to see something, but they're not helping devise a strategy, like, you might want to reconsider, or not even reconsider, because I really want to help agents out there too. Tell your agent to consider the fact that that house might be overpriced, and could you offer less if it's been sitting on the market? Like, get their juices going, make them do the work. And the reason I say that is because I don't like to, enjoy agents taking other people's agents. I don't think that's the way. I think the best way is for agents to teach other agents, because many brokerages, and this is no shade, but many brokerages, when they employ agents, when they get you in their brokerage, they're not necessarily teaching you the things as they are happening in the market moment by moment. There are some brokerages that do that. There are some teams that will do that because the teams are on top of their game. If you're considering real estate, and I'm kind of digressing, but this is necessary. If you're considering a career in real estate, you want to get under the umbrella of an agent who's killing it, or on a team who's killing it. Because and so not just a brokerage that has a big name, that has a fluffy brand. I call those brokerages fun junkie brokerages. They get you in there, you're paying your monthly, they get their money from you every month, but you're not learning anything. And then you soon become that agent that hops from brokerage to brokerage because you're trying to find somebody ultimately who's going to train you, that you can shadow. So I'm saying, out the gate, find someone who's killing it already. Once you become an agent, you have access to information to see who has the most productivity. Reach out to those individuals and see if they'd be willing to train you, let you shadow them, join their team. But then you have to also show them what you're going to bring to the table. So I digress, because I really wanted to show you that I'm not trying to say, buyers and sellers, I'm not saying fire your agents. I'm saying expose them to the information that they need to be working on for your benefit. Okay. So I don't want anybody calling me saying, hey, my agent isn't working, because 9 times out of 10, I'm going to ask you what are the things they're doing. And I'm going to tell you some things that you can share with them to help them become a good agent for you. Okay. Now back to this. Here's information on how much equity U.S. homeowners have lost since May of this year. And this is from CNBC. CNBC published at the beginning of this month that homeowner equity peaked at 11.7 trillion collectively last May. Homeowner equity peaked in the entire United States at 11.7 trillion collectively after home prices jumped 45%. That was almost double. In September, home prices fell on a month-to-month basis for the 3rd month in a row. So in May, they peaked. Shortly after that, what happened right after that? Rates increased. This is all connected. This is not rocket science. In September, home prices fell on a month-to-month basis for the 3rd month in a row. Since July, the median home price has dropped by $11,560. This is on a national level. This is on a national level. And so if we're looking at this thing on a local level, Let's just pull out the stats. Sales volume is down in Sacramento County 28%. That's the number of homes that have sold. And if we look at the median sales price from September 2021 to September 2022, we see a change of 1%. So the median sales price in September 2021 was $515,000. The median sales price in September 2022 was $520,000. And you would think, oh, well, that's higher. Well, we came off of, that was before we got to the high. And I wish I had the high number in here. I might actually have it. Let me see if I can find the highest. Oh, here we go. So the highest median sales price point in Sacramento County during COVID, where we saw our highest gain, $575,000. So now here we are, the month of September, $515,000. It's already back down $520,000, and that's September. So it's already back down by $10,000 to where it was September the year before. The stats for the month of October will be out in the next few days. And if those stats show that the median sale price is further declining, if you were a seller and you had sold your home at the right price during the month of September, if you listed it right in September and listed it right in October, you'd be getting more equity gain than those people who are going to list in November. The people who list in November will have more equity gain than those who list in December. You get the picture? So the longer you wait to list your home at the right price, the longer you wait, the more you're going to lose out on the equity opportunity. There are people who still need to sell. And you are a great candidate for selling if you've been in your home for over 5 years, because that means that you're not trying to get pandemic gains. That means you already have regular, normal, healthy equity. And if you need to sell because you're relocating, if you need to sell because you need to downsize, or if you need to sell because your house, you need a larger house for whatever reason, and you've been in your home for even 4 years or longer, then you should have some pretty decent pre-pandemic equity. And just don't look for the pandemic proceeds, and you'll be fine. If you listed at a price that's pre-COVID, then you're going to see some nice proceeds. You will sell it quickly, and you can recognize the higher proceeds now versus waiting. I oftentimes people say, I'm just going to wait. Wait for what? Nobody knows. No one has this crystal ball as to when rates will be lower, or whether or not. Now we don't even know. We know that the feds have predicted that they will continue to increase rates if XYZ occurs. We can expect that they may get as high as 8%, but when? We don't know. All of this is going to be based on not only consumer behavior, but there are other things that are happening, other variables occurring in not only the U.S. economy, but overseas with the election results, all of these different things. People who get placed in different leadership positions and their stance on certain positions with the economy will impact the direction that goes. So it's always best to gauge whether or not you need to sell or buy based on affordability, even for sellers. So if you've got the equity before the pandemic and you need to sell, this is still a good time for you to sell. There's nothing to fear. You got to get it sold, and you want to walk away with some proceeds. If you have to sell and your listing agent runs the comps and runs the net sheet, if they are using today's comps, you may not get the results that you want from that net sheet. But if, and I'm saying if they're listing it if they're showing that you can list it higher and they're making you believe that those are the proceeds you're going to get, but then you look at the actual data comps and it's showing you that homes listed at that price in your area are not selling. They have to be able to show you homes that actually sold within the past, not 6 months, not even 3 months. What has sold in that area in the last month and why? Because how a home sells right now is based on what a buyer can afford. And buyers are looking at interest rates. Interest rates are impacting and the interest rates are going up. So you can't just use comps from 2 months ago or 6 months ago by default. You got to do the homework. You have to run comps pre-COVID. You have to run comps. What happened this month? You got to analyze both of those pieces of data to help your sellers come up with the right list price. So hopefully that information helps not only sellers to understand what the parameters are for looking at and trying to estimate how to get it listed at the right price, but hopefully agents as well. So knowing that U.S. home equity homeowners, knowing that homeowners in the U.S. have lost that much equity, the historic run-up in home prices during the first 2 years of the pandemic gave homeowners record amounts of new home equity. Since May of this year, about 1.5 trillion of that has vanished, according to Black Knight, a mortgage software and analytics company. The average borrower has lost $30,000 in equity. Now, don't let that scare you, because what equity was that? That was pandemic equity. It wasn't really real. It was unicorn equity. It was one of those moments that you had to be at the right place at the right time. It's not how the market normally operates. So homeowner equity peaked at 17.6 trillion after home prices jumped 45% since the start of the pandemic. At the end of September, prices were still up 41%. Equity was still quite strong. Borrowers who bought their homes before the pandemic collectively have 5 trillion more than they did before the pandemic hit. That translates to a gain of $92,000 more equity per borrower than in February of 2020, right? While additional declines may be on the horizon, homeowner positions remain broadly strong. See? Even though we can expect that there's going to be some decline because you bought before the pandemic, for those of you who did, the gains that you accrued before the pandemic are strong. Those are real. Those are real equity gains. And we are probably not going to see those disappear. For those of you who are expecting the market to fall out, it ain't happening. And I'm going to tell you why right now in layman's terms, but if we can get through all of this reading, I'm going to talk about it in greater detail. Very simple reason. We're still facing a housing shortage, and housing is one of the human needs that we will always have. Because we are still faced with a housing shortage, because we live in California, the 4th largest economy in the world. I was just told that our number has been updated from position number 5 to position number 4. We are now the 4th largest economy in the world, the state of California. There will always be a demand for housing in the state of California. And I shouldn't say always. There will always be a strong demand for housing in the state of California because of who we are, because of our position here. And so, again, I just want to reiterate, Black Knight's president of data and analytics stated just what I said, but he did it in a very technical way. While additional declines may be on the horizon, i.e., even though we're going to see prices continue to fall a little, homeowner positions remain broadly strong. Borrowers who bought their homes before the pandemic collectively have 5 trillion more. That's about a $92,000 equity gain prior to February 2020. So Home prices began to weaken only as mortgage rates rose in the spring, making it less affordable to buy. The monthly payment on the average home with a $20,000 down payment on a mortgage is nearly up $1,000 since the beginning of the year. And so as we think about what that translates to in a monthly mortgage amount, just keeping it in layman's terms, there was pre-pandemic, we were starting to see on average, and I'm saying this from experience, my experience representing buyers. I was hearing myself having to have more conversations with buyers about acclimating them to $2,500 a month mortgages, $2,800 a month mortgages, $3,200 a month mortgages. Now that rates are gone up, I'm having to have counseling sessions about acclimating buyers to $3,800 mortgage payments, $4,200 mortgage payments. I've even just recently had a conversation with a buyer, actually last night, about a potential $5,000 mortgage payment. And it's just unheard of. But after the conversation, and we talked about this information, they decided that they would do a 2-1 buy down that would bring their payment to around $3,800 a month, which was very manageable for them. And the 2-1 buy down is a program that most lenders are offering, where you pay some money up front, which you ask the seller to pay, like a credit, pay a few $1,000s up front, buy that rate down. And I say a few thousand, it's a little bit more than a few thousand. You buy that rate down for the entire year, it reduces your payment. And we're making the assumption, so with this particular buyer, they're saying we're going to do that with the assumption that rates are going to possibly decline within a year. So that's something that they can hope towards. But the other part was that one of the persons is going to be transitioning into a position that was going to give them a lot more money in their income, so they'd be able to maintain the payment no matter what. So what did they do? They looked at their own personal financial situation to make the assessment as to whether or not now was a good time to buy. The other part is that they're looking for a specific home. This is a great time to find a specific home. You don't have a lot of competition. So this is how these decisions need to be made. You want to look at your individual circumstances as a buyer financially. What are your needs? What are you capable of doing? That's how you want to make that decision right now. And you don't want to assume that it's definitive that rates are going to drop. Like I said, that buyer had a backup plan in case they don't. They were expecting more income. And really, once you get into a situation where there's a need for more money, subconsciously you'll make it happen if you really want it. If you really think about that. I don't want to get into the mental thought process about that. Save that for another show. However, let's talk about now how Redfin has cut 13% of their staff. They shut down their home flipping business and what that means to the industry. We're going to take a break on time. Thank you for telling me that. And when we come back from the break, we're going to talk about Redfin cutting staff and other businesses cutting staff and the real estate industry as a whole. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and we'll be right back. Let's see, Ron. Okay, so you followed up with, I left something out. What you think about, what you think about, you talk about. I was saying it wrong. Okay. What you think about, you talk about. What you talk about, you bring about. What are you thinking about? I get it. Okay. My syncopation was out of whack, and I wasn't understanding that that's what you were saying. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Daniel, who is Barry Habib? That name sounds familiar. And Ron said, no, I did not call. No, you didn't call. It was someone else. Barry Habib, that name sounds very familiar, Daniel. let's see here. What do I want? I want to make sure that I don't.
My sister said, great show.
Oh, tell her thank you, Miss Sonia. Thank you,
She's always
for listening, for tuning in.
listening.
I want to talk about Redfin, but I want to get to this New York Times article because this just kind of really pulled in everything.
This one's more of a property.
Let's see here. Which one is going to be more beneficial to the listeners? They're both equally as important because they deal with the mindset. Good afternoon, Agent Key. Hello, Miss Felicia. How are you? I think that is you. How are you doing?
How about if we sneak back early?
Oh, that'd be good. Give me a little bit more time.
Let's do that. Are you ready?
Yep.
Oh, you don't stop it. More than things. Go.
Hey everyone, we're back. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key. We got back in here a little bit earlier. Thank you, Dozy, to give me a little time to share more information with you before the show is over. So I really want to quickly talk about how Redfin is shuttering its iBuying business and is laying off workers for the second time in almost 5 months. And it's probably as a result of a prolonged U.S. housing slowdown continues to ripple throughout the industry. And this is a report by Patrick Clark. And it says the brokerage said Wednesday in a blog post that they would lay off more than 860 workers, roughly 13% of its staff. And the decision follows an earlier reduction announced in June and brings the total numbers of Redfin employees down to 27% since the end of April. Why is this article important? I want to read a little bit more, but I want to kind of preface it by telling you that it's important because these iBuying companies like Redfin and what's the other one I'm thinking of? Open Door, those types of companies where you see Zillow, where you see their listings on the market, they are pulling out, they are shutting down certain business models that they had where they were once off making you an offer, buying the home from you, flipping the house, putting it back on the market when they thought it was a very lucrative time to do so. Not only are they pulling out of the market, but Zillow is putting their houses back on the market at deep, deep discounts from the prices that they bought them at. So they're selling them for this. It's like buying a house that Zillow has put on the market now is like buying off the discount rack at Nordstrom's. Yes, at Nordstrom's, the rack. Exactly. So if you see a Zillow listing, and even Open Door, same thing. Open Door has an app where when you open it up, you can actually see, they give you the opportunity or the option, I should say, of making an offer right there online. And they have a discount model where if you make the offer through them, they give you a discount. However, you can make the offer. Not only are they telling you in advance to do what I'm trying to get you to do, but you can offer it even less. They just want to get these homes sold because they know that it's better to take the hit now than to wait and take the hit later and lose more. So I wanted to share that. So the layoff was based on the assumption that the company would sell fewer homes in 2022. The current cuts are based on the expectation that the market downturn will last probably through 2023. Many of the workers that the company is letting go were part of its iBuying operation, Redfin Now. And that business model that operates like a large-scale home flipping operation gained popularity in the years leading up to the pandemic, such as other companies like Redfin and Zillow Group sought to tap into that market created by the pioneer of that market, Open Door, right? So now Redfin and Zillow have closed their iBuying businesses. They bought homes from consumers. made light repairs, and put the properties back on the market. Open Door, meanwhile, is embracing a third-party marketplace designed to grow revenue while limiting the amount of capital the company has to put at risk. So, again, sharing this information that these big companies who once saw this market as an opportunity to create a business model are now backing out because they are anticipating. And when companies like this forecast their business decisions, this is because they've done their due diligence and their homework, and they know that there is a strong possibility that this is the direction the market is going. So once again, I am imploring buyers, when you're out there, don't get discouraged about the interest rate. Look at that price and imagine that house being on that Nordstrom's discount rack. It's listed at $600,000, but baby, you might be able to get that thing for $5. Multiply that $500,000 purchase times that interest rate and what that payment's going to be, how much you're bringing in, and make the offer at what you can afford. That's what I mean by that when I say make it at what you can afford. Because if that seller wants to get that house sold, that house, they have it listed at $600,000 and it's not selling, but they must sell it, it will eventually sell, and it probably will sell for even less than $500,000 by the time they really get it sold. So why not go ahead and get it now at $500,000 where you have no competition? Why wait? And again, you will need an agent who knows how to do their work to get you to that point. So now I want to jump into the New York Times article. And you guys, thank you. I want to say thank you to all of those people who are watching online, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and just a shout out to Leticia, to Ronald, and Daniel, and Felicia, and others of you that are watching, but you haven't chimed in. If you have a question, you want to put it in the chat, I will be sure to answer that. So now the housing market is worse than you think, this New York Times article, and it talks about how mortgage rates are sky high, prices are sky high, and there is no inventory. And so this is one of the chief economists, or the chief economist at Moody's Analytics, who's saying this, Mark Zandi. He said, it may be the worst time in my living history for the home buyer. It just doesn't make sense. Mortgage rates recently broke 7%, the highest since 2002, and more than double what most borrowers paid near the start of the pandemic. So I want to get straight down to the making sense part. How do we make sense of this? Much of the change, or much actually can change, especially with economic headwinds on the horizon. But they all agreed one thing: the market is cooling, and it's cooling fast. Home prices are going to drop, not just to the extent some buyers have hoped for. Sellers are going to have to work for their closings again, and renters may finally get a reprieve from surging prices, even as prices stay well above pre-pandemic level. How low will home prices go? So most analysts don't expect for prices to free fall as they did from the subprime mortgage crisis in 2008. In part, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, so it says partly because of stricter underwriting practices, a big bump in home price appreciation, and a class of all cash investors waiting to swoop in when prices dip. But the cuts are coming. Perhaps I had some caffeine, y'all, that just is trying to take over. It's just trying to take me over. But the cuts are coming, analysts said, perhaps as deep as 20 to 30% in markets that saw the most appreciation. So, particularly in the Mountain West region and the South, still most homeowners will have gained some equity over the past 2 years, even after a slide in home values. So I want to go back to that because people have been saying even before COVID that the market is going to crash. And what I want to highlight, I want to kind of do an I told you so. If you had bought a home pre-COVID, rates were 5 to 6% before COVID. Now, somebody was probably in your ear saying the market's going to crash. The market's going to crash. What did the market do? The market did not crash. Rates went lower. Homes sold for much, much more, and inventory got even tighter. The lesson there, stop listening to people saying the market's going to crash. The other lesson there, get with a real estate professional who can actually help you identify the market cues, the things that are happening in the market at that moment. Every market is different. Where you want to buy a home is different. If you're looking to buy in Oak Park versus Folsom versus Rockland versus Natomas versus Greenhaven, all of those are different price point areas. And if you don't have an agent on your team who understands that and how those markets are changing and what things are happening in those communities that are either increasing the prices or taking the prices down, you won't know how or when or why or if you should pull the trigger. Stop listening to people who just want to have something to say that are not in the industry full-time, boots on the ground. Just stop. Ron said, you will have the equity when the rates come down if you purchase now. Exactly. Ms. Valencia, thanks again for always sharing pertinent information. My pleasure. And Felicia said, I appreciate the show, valuable information. Thank you. I'm happy to be able to share this information with you all. This is one of the tools that we have here at the chamber to get this information out to this audience, because these are not conversations we're having on a regular basis, but we need to, and we're starting to. So I'm excited that we are starting to have these types of conversations on a regular basis. Continuing in this article, I have less than 60 seconds. I really don't have any more time, but I want to take some time to wrap this up and just say, look, there's so much information here. I'm trying to figure out which one should I. So what's going on? Where can we expect rates to continue to go? Okay, so this is really one of the main points that I wanted to point out, and I'm not sure. I think I brought it up a little bit, but I want to make sure I get this in here. There will always be, in any economy, with any asset, any investment, prices will go up and they will come down. Real estate is one of those rare assets where the market, over the long haul, 10, 20, 30 years, has always gone up. Back in the 70s and 80s, when homes were selling for $40,000, $50,000, you cannot get a 4-bed. You will not ever be able to get a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home in California for $40,000. It never, unless we create some kind of 3D printing that costs $5 to print and build a house. With that being said, as we are talking about Chief Economist Yun from the National Association of Realtors, the comment that he made, which I agree with, he's in charge, and so he's giving us valuable data. We will probably see rates decrease slightly over the next year and a half. However, and then as a result, we're going to see home prices. We are, not just because the rates are probably going to drop, but right now we're traveling down 2 lanes at the same time. I'm trying to break this down as easy as possible. There's going to be an opportunity where rates will decrease over the next couple of years. It is already happening that home values are dropping. They are not going to continue to drop, because at the point where those rates and those home prices match, you will see buyers flood the market again. And then what happens? Prices go up. So right now we have this window of time where you either get in front of the price, make the lower offer, wait for the rate to drop, be on the bus with all the other buyers who, jump on it because they the wait and see crowd, or wish you had made the purchase right now because prices are going to go up and you'll be buying with a higher price and at the same rate when at whatever the rate is when the rates drop, but your price will be higher, so you'll still be paying more. I hope that makes sense. Thank you all for allowing me to come to you every Wednesday at 1 p.m. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Q. And remember, if you're doing what you were created to do, I will see you at the top.
No more caffeine.
Whew, I know. Thank you guys for tuning in. I got to go get some water now and flush all this caffeine out my system. I think I put it. Okay, I'm back, y'all. That's me fiddling with the gadgets and not even signing off properly. Let's see. Ronald said predictions are that rates will come back down depending on inflation in the second quarter next year. That would be nice if they come back down the second quarter of next year. It's just going to be nice to anticipate that they're going to come back down. So thank you all for tuning in. I got to go get me some water and flush this out of my system. See y'all next Wednesday. Love you.